Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show right here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football. Thank you so much for joining me. I am, as always, your host, Tiger Paul Craven. Got a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. Going to talk some injury updates. Going to talk some breakout freshmen. We will preview the Pitt game, of course, and then give a quick recap of the Virginia Tech win from this past Saturday. All of that coming up and more in tonight's show. But before we get into tonight's show, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. It would really help us out. We're on the road to 6,000 subscribers, and your subscription would mean a ton to us and your support as well. So thank you guys so much for that. Get us to that 6,000 mark. Also, this is a live video. So if you're in here in the live chat, go ahead and comment your questions, comment your converse back and forth between each other, but also hit that like button. Really helps us out on these live videos, pushes it out to more people, and ultimately brings more people in, so which is the goal of the channel. And last but certainly not least, we got the super chat feature available if you'd like to support what me and Jordan do here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football, and more specifically, the All In Show. Hit that super chat button, ask a question, leave a comment, and we'll be sure to respond to your comment or answer your question live right here during the show. And with all of that said, and without further ado, I'm going to bring on my co-host, Jordan Bowman. What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
What's happening, man? I'm living the dream. We got Pitt this week. College football playoff rankings came out last night. Had a lot of interesting things that came out of that. Of course, we're going to talk all about injuries and all the stuff that's been going on around the Clemson football program. So I'm ready to get into it, man.
Yeah, man, got a ton to talk about tonight. Hope you guys are having a great week. Thank you guys so much for getting in here and supporting the show. But with all of that said, we got a ton of stuff to get into tonight. So let's go ahead and kick it off, Jordan, with our first topic of the night. College football playoff rankings were updated yesterday, Jordan. Some big losses in the top five of college football. Miami falls to Georgia Tech. Georgia falls to Ole Miss. Those were the two top five losses from this past weekend. LSU gets dominated by Alabama at home. They drop significantly as well. So those are kind of your big key ones that stand out that drop pretty significantly in the polls. Miami dropped 5 spots down to number 9. Georgia dropped 9 spots down to number 12. And LSU drops all the way down to number 22, falling 7 spots after that convincing loss to Bama this past Saturday night. Our Tigers check in at number 20, up 3 from last week after the win over Virginia Tech. Looking at these rankings quickly, Jordan, any thoughts on maybe the top 5 or any surprises in the top 25 that really stand out to you in the second iteration of this 2024 college football rankings?
Yeah, these rankings have just kind of showed that anybody can lose to anybody. It doesn't really matter at this point. I did find it funny that Georgia was punished worse for getting beat by Ole Miss than Miami was for losing to unranked Georgia Tech. That was pretty funny. But I get it. Georgia already has a loss, but still, it just doesn't feel right to me. The top teams, like the top 5, is just kind of is what it is. It really doesn't even matter to me other than having Oregon number 1. Everything else seems pretty. I guess Ohio State number 2, but because the only game they've looked bad in or they've looked human in is when they lost to Oregon.
Right.
But other than those two, it feels like everything else is just kind of jumbled up. you don't really know. As far as Clemson's concerned, we've talked about it. I'm not really concerned with their ranking too much. You did see South Carolina slot in behind them. They make their debut in the rankings. I felt like they should have been ranked last week, but is what it is. They're playing really good football right now. That's going to be a tough game in a few weeks. Not going to sugarcoat it. If you guys are expecting Clemson to, anything can happen in this year of college football, but
right,
they're playing really good football. I as it stands right now, I expect that to be a pretty tough game to win. Just being at home, it helps, but they're playing really good football, and they've shown they can compete with anybody right now. Other than that, I know Iowa State lost again. They're kind of spiraling. The Miami loss is so frustrating because all that Clemson was beat Louisville, and we're having a very different conversation about the outlook of the season, because then you put yourself in the driver's seat. I guess technically you would be right there with SMU,
right.
And you would control your own destiny, and all you'd have to do is just take care of Pitt this week. But nope, got destroyed and at home. And that happens to be the common opponent between you and SMU, you Miami and SMU. So.
Yeah, the one team that we all three play. Clemson had to trot out there on a Saturday night game in the Valley and look absolutely terrible and lose the game. I mean, very frustrating to lose that game. Not just because of how we lost it, but you see Miami fall this past weekend, and we've talked about it in the past. Not throwing any shade at Miami's way, but they've been playing with fire for far too long this season. I knew eventually it would probably creep up and get them at some point in time within this regular season stretch. Didn't know it would be Georgia Tech. Wouldn't have been able to predict really any certain game that they were going to, get bit by, so to speak. But you knew it was coming. If you've watched Miami play all season, you knew eventually they weren't going to be able to keep mounting these fourth quarter comebacks and these heroics that Cam has been able to do each and every week. I mean, the dude's Superman out there. He's certainly the Heisman frontrunner, probably going to win the Heisman, deservedly so. But you knew eventually the magic would run out for all those fourth quarter comebacks, and it came against Georgia Tech. And shout out to Georgia Tech for doing it. And but Georgia was penalized the worst this week for losing to Ole Miss. That's a little surprising to me that they got punished a little bit more than than Miami, who was also a top 5 team that lost to an unranked Georgia Tech. No offense, Georgia Tech, but it is what it is, right? And then, just talking about it like you were talking from a Clemson standpoint, and specifically the ACC championship game, you could have been in the driver's seat, but Clemson didn't take care of business, and now you sit at a point where you don't control your destiny. You gotta go into Pitt this weekend. You got to take care of business. You're going to finish. If you do that, you're going to finish the season 7-1 in the ACC, and you got to hope Miami loses another game. If that doesn't happen, you got to hope SMU loses a game, and then you're back in a 3-way tie, and then it's record of common opponent type deal again. So that's really Clemson's only avenue to the ACC championship game at this point, is to hope Miami loses another one, or to hope SMU loses one, and then we're back in that 3-way tie circus scenario that everybody was talking about prior to Clemson dropping the ball against Louisville. So we'll see how it shakes out. But again, frustrating that Clemson cost themselves the ACC championship, it looks like, by just not showing up. Oh, well.
Yep.
You move on.
I know SMU, I think they play Virginia this week. Maybe, Tony Elliott can help out his alma mater. That'd be really nice. He got a big win, obviously, against who we're about to play last week. So I don't know, maybe Virginia's starting to put something together. They give SMU a little bit of a challenge. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe our boy Tony Elliott can get it done for us. We'll certainly. Every Clemson fan will certainly be rooting for Virginia this weekend, because it only helps us if they can somehow pull out a victory there. But, we'll see. A lot of football left to be played. Clemson does not control their own destiny. Only thing they can do is roll up to Pitt and take care of business, which is, we'll get into it a little bit later in the show, but a lot easier said than done.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for showing up. We got 25 people in the live chat right now. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Helps us out on these live videos a ton. I want to tell you guys about Mark Rogers' new book release. He just wrote his first book. You can purchase it on Amazon. You can purchase it on the Kindle app as well. If you have a Kindle, for 99 cents. On Amazon, it's $9.99. It's called Disputed National Champions. It goes in depth and cover college football's historic 1990s reset, the kind of rebranding of college football, the evolution of college football, kind of as we know it today, and the decisions and all the craziness that went into crowning champions in the 90s and the shared championships and all that kind of stuff. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, if you're a college football historian, if you just enjoy reading stuff about college football, I encourage you guys to go over to Amazon, purchase Mark Rogers' book on either the paperback version or the Kindle version. Check it out. Leave a review over there and let them know that the guys over on the Clemson channel sent you. It's a good read. I promise you guys won't regret it. All right, let's give a quick shout out to the comment section before we move on to the next portion of the show, Jordan. Got a couple people in here starting to give comments. I normally do it at the beginning of the show, but we'll do it right now. John Saring gets in here, one of our regulars. Wet Sox, Alex Gaming Channel, Isaac Smith. Who else? Kevin is in here. Eli Taylor is in here. Thank you guys so much for getting in here, getting into the comment section. As you guys know, once we're done with our planned portion of the show, we will turn it over to you and let you guys drive the rest of the show. Breakout freshmen, Jordan. We have had quite a few freshmen, true freshmen, contribute in a big way for our Clemson Tigers so far this season. First guys that kind of come to mind is guys that we were talking about preseason, right? You think about a Bryant Westco, you think about a TJ Moore, the addition of those guys in the wide receiver room. We thought this season would greatly elevate that room, and it has. Those guys have absolutely balled out. They've been huge playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. They've created the explosive play again for this Clemson offense, which is really great. But in recent weeks, we've had a couple other true freshmen that have really started to come into their own as far as their Clemson Tiger career goes. Sammy Brown comes to mind. He had an amazing first start last week, led the team in tackles. I think he's got 4 sacks on the year. I think he led the team in tackles for loss last week as well. Just had a great first start as a Clemson Tiger. Now, he's played this season at points and times, but that was his first start where he truly went out there and played a complete game for Clemson. I think he had an amazing game. That his future is so bright at Clemson. Can't wait to see what he's going to turn into. Another guy, Ashton Hampton. I know everybody's mind immediately just went to that crazy interception that he had this past Saturday against Virginia Tech. It was absolutely insane. Just his reach, his length, the physicality that he plays with. And that play came directly after getting beat on a big explosive play by the other team, by Virginia Tech, right? They go right back at him, and he makes them pay for it. So he's definitely started rounding into his own. And then Elijah Thurman last week gets kind of thrown into the fire of starting his first game and playing major snaps because Walker Parks was out. And then very early in the game, Tristan Lay goes out, right? So you can't move Harris Sewell over you can't move Walker Parks over to tackle because he's already out, which would have been Clemson's first move was to move. They would have moved Walker Parks out to tackle.
It was Marcus Tate that was out. Not
Marcus Tate, excuse me. Marcus Tate. They would have moved Marcus Tate. Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Marcus Tate out to tackle, and they'd have brought Harris Sewell in at guard, and they'd have rolled that way. Well, he was out. Marcus Tate was out. They thought he was going to play, but he didn't play. Tristan Lay goes down. So they got a call on true freshman. And he just gets it done, man. Elijah Thurman went out there, and he didn't play a perfect game. He wasn't without his mistakes. But I think for a true freshman offensive lineman to walk out there and play left tackle for basically an entire game, you couldn't have painted a better game for him to play. So those are just a few that come to mind for me. What are kind of your thoughts on these guys and maybe some other true freshmen that kind of have stood out to you as we are 3/4 of the way through the regular season now?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on them. I mean, the impact that TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco have made on this wide receiver room, we've talked about it all season. I won't spend a lot of time on that. You mentioned Sammy Brown on defense. I don't know if people realize this, but Sammy Brown is second on the team in sacks, second on the team in tackles for loss, and second on the team in solo tackles. And he's played what, like maybe 20 snaps a game?
Yeah, go look at his snap count compared to the rest of the people on the top of that list.
He's been incredible, and especially with in recent weeks. When he's just looks more comfortable out there. He's playing really fast, flying around the field, making tackles. I mean, can't really. We knew how good he was and how good he was going to be, but we wondered how quickly he would pick things up. And it just every week it just seems like he's, and the coaching staff has said as much, like he just gets better and better each week. Really excited for him, and he was a massive shot in the arm as far as your run defense on Saturday. You mentioned Ashton Hampton, a guy we've seen more of throughout the season. He came in really ready to play. I mean, physically, he's 6'3", 200 pounds at corner, but has the positional versatility that Dabo mentioned. Like he said, you might not see him just play corner throughout his career, because he really is a multifaceted, multi-tool type of defensive back. So he's been awesome, and he's just gotten more and more comfortable as the season has gone on, and obviously made that big interception on Saturday. So really cool to see him, and of course Elijah Thurman stepping in when Tristan Lay goes out, and you already don't have Marcus Tate, and he holds up against the nation's leader or second in the country in sacks, and Antoine Powell-Ryland. So you can't really ask for more from these true freshmen. I mean, this class is. I mean, we've raved about this freshman class, and I think there are other guys that that are probably redshirt candidates that I think are going to see significant roles next season that I'm really excited to see. So I mean, just it's been really cool, man. Just to see those guys grow as the season has gone on and get more opportunities. Kind of wish that some of them got opportunities earlier. And I mean, in the receiver's case, of course, first game of the year probably would have been nice. And then, of course, Sammy Brown, getting more snaps was kind of a big deal last week, but you could have had him a couple of weeks ago, and maybe things might have been – you might have been in a little bit better shape, but I don't know. Hindsight's 20/20.
Always. You can always, do the Monday morning quarterback thing. You can always, hindsight's 20/20, all that kind of stuff. But just encouraging to see these true freshmen come out here and just, you can really see the development as the season's gone on, especially for a guy like Sammy Brown, whose snaps have been pretty limited. And then, you go to last week, and because of, the 12-team personnel that Virginia Tech plays with, and Clemson's really inability to be able to set the edge at the defensive end position, they switched to that 4-3 look last week to really put an emphasis on controlling that running game against a Virginia Tech team that coming into that game had been a really good team as far as rushing the ball. And Clemson clamped down on them and only allowed them to rush for 40 yards. So his impact was greatly felt last week, as was Ashton Hampton and the rest of those guys as well. It's good to see those guys stepping up. Exciting to see what their careers are going to turn into. as Clemson Tigers, especially with so much early success for them.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, we got 30 people in the live chat right now. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button for us. We got a message from Mark Rogers about the voice of college football bets, and we'll be right back on the other side.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the voice of college football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.
All right, guys, you heard Mark Rogers there. If you enjoy college football and you enjoy a little bit of betting to make some of the games interesting, go check out Voice of College Football Bets for all of your inside picks, all of your stuff like that. I'm sure you guys will find it useful in your Saturday of betting on college football. All right, Jordan, moving right along into final thoughts on Virginia Tech. It was a game that started out pretty poorly for the offensive side of the ball. I remember watching that first half thinking, "Oh boy, this is gonna be bad. This looks a lot like last week. This looks a lot like the type of offense that gets us beat." And then obviously they turned the page to the second half, score on the first 2 drives, punch the ball in the end zone, first 2 drives of the second half, and kind of coast to a nice victory, turning the page to the defensive side of the ball, obviously debuting that 4-3 due to the 12-man personnel, the focus on stopping the run game, lights out pretty much for the defense. Didn't give up a single point until basically the end of the game, a garbage time fourth quarter touchdown that didn't really mean anything other than it was kind of disappointing because you would have liked to see the defense hold that shutout that they had going. The only other points scored in the game were obviously on that amazing special teams play where we got a field goal blocked once again, and this time it was returned for 6 points, and that was all that Virginia Tech could muster until that late fourth quarter score. So after rewatching the game and having some time to digest everything, what are your final thoughts on this Virginia Tech game? Anything that stands out since we've talked last Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, most of my takeaways are on the offensive end. It really was in that first half. I mean, and Dabo talked about it, but they really did leave a lot of meat on the bone there. Just a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, drops. That hasn't really been a huge problem this year, but for whatever reason, some of your best guys were dropping the football. Antonio Williams had a key drop. Bryant Wesco had a drop on the sideline. That Cade did a great job in scramble drill creating that opportunity. TJ had a couple he wishes he could have had back. It was just Jake had a drop. Like it was really, really disjointed. And you'd like to see them kind of compete a little bit better. I don't expect that to be a long-term issue. Sometimes that just happens, but there were a lot of things that they didn't do all that well. Offensive line, I thought, although they gave up, the stats say they gave up 4 sacks. I don't think really any of them were the offensive line's fault. I thought they actually played pretty well on the week. I believe, according to Pro Football Focus, we already talked about Elijah Thurman. He allowed the least amount of pressures of anybody on that line. I think he allowed 1 the entire game.
That's pretty special.
Yeah. So I was really, really pleased. Honestly, I thought they played well. And once they got the run game going, it definitely opens things up in the second half. Phil Maffa just continues to be fantastic. I made an appreciation post about him yesterday, highlighting his stats. He's at over 1,000 all-purpose yards. He's almost at 1,000 rushing yards. He's second in the ACC, 13th nationally in rushing yards, 8 touchdowns, 6.1 yards per carry, which I think is like third in the ACC, among running backs that have like at least 100 carries. So he just continues to be that workhorse, and I don't even think he's completely healthy. So just he continues to be your guy. Hopefully you get an opportunity next week, next Saturday, to get some of the younger backs in. But until then, Dabo said it. He said more Mo Maffa, Mo better.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's what he said. So. I agree. Just keep feeding him the rock, because he gets better and better as the game goes on, and that's the special thing about him. It's like he doesn't run all over you in the first half, and then kind of is ineffective. As the game goes on, he just gets more and more effective, because guys don't want to tackle that man in the open space after they've been on the field for as long. Especially when Virginia Tech, as long as their defense was on the field, like 39 minutes. 37 minutes, something like that. Pretty incredible. The block punt. The block kick. Dabo said it was a low kick. I guess I'll take his word for it. He said that he liked how they had it blocked up. It was just Nolan Hooser just kicked it low. And I wondered about that. Against Louisville, I wondered how many of that. Which one of those were low kicks and which one of those was poor protection.
Yeah.
But this one was definitely confirmed to be a low kick. So
yeah, I mean, and look, I think it could have been somewhat of a low kick, but Clemson's protection got blown up the middle. No shade to Peyton Page, because he's an absolute dog, but he got blown up on that play. And you can't give up pressure right up the middle, especially when you're kicking somewhat of a longer field goal. So yeah, I do agree that it was probably low, but your protection still was not great at the same time. So I think two things were probably true on that field goal try that ultimately got blocked in return for a touchdown. But overall, I think you can walk away from the second half of that game as a Clemson fan and be somewhat encouraged that the offense did get it together. They were able to weather some adversity from that first half where, we probably have 5 or 6 drops in that game, uncharacteristic drops from guys like Antonio Williams, who doesn't drop passes, right? And other guys as well. Jake Brenningstool, has been dropping the ball a bit as of late, and some of the other guys as well. And then the uncharacteristic penalties and just – some poor decision making by Cade at times, especially in that first half. But they weathered through it, and in the end, they did enough to win the game. Which is, at the end of the day, at this point in time in the season, that's the goal. You got to win games, and Clemson's got to win out and hopefully get some help to get where they want to go. But Dabo talked about Cade this week from a leadership standpoint. He thought he was great from a quarterback standpoint and decision-making standpoint. He said it was probably his worst game of the season. So I think that's just, he got a little rattled maybe in that first half, made some poor decisions, rushed some things, tried to do a little too much. But, at the end of the day, he got the job done. And that's all you can ask for. You saw the improvement come out after halftime. The offense definitely set a different tone. We talked about special teams. That stuff's got to get cleaned up. Still fully believe that stuff needs to be cleaned up and some changes need to be made there. But again, you get enough done, and here we are. Got one more conference game left, and we will see as everyone else decides our fate.
Yep, absolutely. I do want to point out, we did, we've given our flowers to the defense for how they performed on Saturday. I'm not ready to conclude that they've turned a corner. I will say that, and not just because I want to be pessimistic, but the reality is the Virginia Tech offense he faced was not in the best shape. It was clear Kyron Drones was not healthy. Basil Tootin was definitely not healthy. He had 4 carries the entire game, and then he went out in the third quarter, I believe, and then it didn't come back in. So as well as you stopped the run, like you did what you were supposed to do against that offense. That was, I don't know why they didn't try to run it more. Even with they have a couple of. I know Malachi Thomas was out, but their third back who got a lot of run against Syracuse the week before, they didn't give him the ball. So I thought that was kind of weird. But you did what you had to do. They were hobbled, but you took care of business, and they weren't able to get anything going offensively. So you made a shorthanded offense look shorthanded, which is better than what you've been able to say at times in other games this year. So I got to give them flowers, but I also have to put that caveat there because I'm not ready to conclude that. And of course, with who you're playing on Saturday, I'm wondering if we still see the same personnel grouping. Will we see that 4-3? I kind of doubt it. From the way the coaches have talked this week, and Dabo saying it was just more of a personnel for that week type of thing, and their opponent in regards to other than making a permanent change,
right?
It didn't seem like that was the direction and mindset that they had when they did that. So,
yeah, no, I think the 4-3 was probably solely because of how much 12 personnel that Virginia Tech plays. So, moving on to the Pitt game, I don't want to give too much away. We'll talk about it when we do the Pitt breakdown because I got some thoughts on what the defense might end up doing, or what I think they might end up doing for that Pitt game. But they're a lot more 11 personnel type deal. So we'll see. We'll see what the defense trots out there. But I don't think it was any sort of permanent change. But I do have some thoughts on maybe some personnel moving around that Clemson might try to do against Pitt. But we'll get into that in just a few moments. In the meantime, guys, we got 33 people in the live chat right now. Check out the official Voice of College Football X page, Twitter page, whatever you want to call it page, for the best discussion, debate, and analysis with no off-season. Check it out. It's right here on the screen, guys. The Voice of College Football official X page. Tons of stuff posted on there. Pics are posted on there. Various updates and things from Marcus are posted on there as well. So it's a good source of just overall college football content. So go check that out, guys. Follow that page, and we would appreciate the support. All right, Jordan. Well, keeping with last game, the Virginia Tech game, we got to give an injury report. And this injury report is getting a little lengthy when it comes to banged up guys for the Clemson Tigers, which is no secret. Every single college football team in America right now is dealing with a ton of banged up guys, a ton of injured guys. Almost no one on the team is 100% at this point of the college football season. We're into November, and you just got to gut it out until the end. But guys that we know are out for sure. Tyler Brown doesn't sound like he's going to play at least for the rest of the regular season. Dabo was quoted this week. Sounds like they really want to try to hold him and redshirt him, get this season back for him, and then play him for any postseason games that Clemson may have, whether that be just a bowl game or the ACC championship game or whatever the case may be. Sounds like he'll be a full go for that kind of stuff, but sounds like they're going to try to hold him as long as, everything goes according to plan for the rest of the regular season. Shelton Lewis obviously out. DeMonte Capehart out. He is on a week-to-week status right now, so definitely won't be playing this Saturday. Colin Sadler, same thing, out for the season. Tristan Lay, Marcus Tate, day-to-day. That sounds like they're practicing, sounds like they're working towards getting better. Are they going to 100% play? I don't know. They're day-to-day at this point. The one that we do know is for sure returning is a big one. Peter Woods will be playing this Saturday. Dabo confirmed that we have him back. He will be a full go for Saturday. So, Jordan, thoughts on the current injury report? It's getting longer and longer, it seems, every week with guys that are just banged up and trying to work back. What are your thoughts heading into the Pitt game?
Yeah, I mean, same old, not necessarily same old. I mean, obviously, the injuries to Marcus Tate and Tristan Lay are significant. Hopefully, you get them back this Saturday, and they're working their way back because that's your left side of the line right there. I'm very pleased with how Elijah Thurman and Harris Sewell filled in on Saturday, but ideally, of course, you want your best guys in, the guys you trust, and the starting five, having that cohesion together, you want that. But if they can't go, they at least showed, the guys that you put in at least showed they can hold up. So we'll see how they look on Saturday and what their outlook is. But obviously you mentioned Peter Woods coming back. That's massive, for the defensive line, of course, just getting more pass rush. And of course, in run defense, he's a very, very massive deal. So I was really pleased on Saturday with the defensive tackles. Thought they played really well. The guys that filled in, Peyton Page, Trey Williams, Stephylan Green was great. So you'll likely see more of those guys again. So as far as injuries go, we've talked about the Shelton Lewises and the Tyler Browns and not having Colin Sadler, that's a big deal. But your depth is being tested a little bit. But right now, I think you're still in a place where you can be functional. But you don't want to have too many more guys go down before you can get some of those guys back.
Yeah, absolutely, especially along that offensive line. It's bad enough you got your entire left side of your offensive line pretty much missing, and as good as you mentioned Harris Sewell and Elijah Thurman did last week, you really do want your main guys back, right? So hopefully those guys are feeling a little bit better, and maybe their snaps will be limited this week, but hopefully they can go at least for a portion of the game and kind of work their way back in slowly. We'll see, but can't state how big it is to have Peter Woods back. I mean, we see the effect that he has on the defense more so when he immediately exits the game. It's really noticeable when number 11's not out there on the edge of this Clemson defense. So it'll be good to have him back, not only on defense, but for the jumbo package. It'll be good to have him back on special teams. He's just a huge asset to this Clemson team, and he does a lot of different things. So really good news from Dabo that we got Peter Woods back. Can't overstate how significant that will be for this Clemson defense and just overall the team. Check out Clemson Live on your favorite audio platform, streaming on everywhere you get your podcasts. Search Clemson Live. Give us a rate, review, subscribe over there. All our long-form content is over there. Check it out, guys. Clemson Live on all your favorite streaming platforms where you get your podcast. All right, Jordan, time to turn the page. Time to look forward to this coming Saturday as we travel up to Pitt to play the Pittsburgh Panthers in their stadium. 12 noon kickoff, unfortunately. I hate noon games, but 12 noon kickoff. Pitt's coming in. They're a little banged up. Quarterback's a little banged up for them. I think they got a receiver banged up as well. Don't really know the status of all of their guys, whether they're going to play, whether they're not going to play. I think their quarterback had head injury, concussion, something like that. So not really sure if he's going to, clear the concussion protocol and be able to play or not. But obviously, that will be a big deal in deciding this game. That'll be a big deal for the Pitt offense. It kind of, starts with him, Eli Holston. You got their leading rusher, Reed, 670 yards, and then their leading receiver, Mumpfield, 560 yards. So looking at this Pitt team and kind of looking at their offensive side of the ball and some of the injuries they may have, how do you see their offense matching up against this Clemson defense? I know this Clemson defense switched to the 4-3 this past week. I don't think, like you were saying earlier, I don't think Clemson's going to go with that particular defense just because of what Pitt likes to do. Now, thoughts on what the Clemson defense could do, and you can give me your thoughts on this, but, heard a couple people talking, and, Sammy Brown, even Dabo said that Sammy Brown has earned his way onto the field. He needs to be on the field. So could you see a Wade Woodaz kind of be flexed out as that, nickel spot, safety spot, flex him out somewhere else, allow Sammy Brown to come in without playing that traditional 4-3. You can give me your thoughts on that and your thoughts on this Pittsburgh offense and how they're going to go about attacking this Clemson defense. Are they going to focus on the run game? Are they going to keep going through the air like they like to do? How do you see them trying to pick apart this Clemson defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it very much depends on what quarterback we see on Saturday. Obviously, you mentioned Eli Holstein, with the apparent head injury. He's had a couple of those this year. Maybe something to monitor there. But that this offense, that they have run this year under Cade Bell, offensive coordinator, they like to run a lot of tempo. They like to spread you out. A lot of 4 or 5 wide sometimes, and they involve their quarterback in the run game a lot. So you talked about kind of Clemson's personnel and what they might do this week. It very much depends. I'm not really sure how much you see, more than 2 linebackers on the field, just because they're. I mean, if you see their backup Nate Yarnell, he's played when he's played this year. He hasn't been overly impressive. So I don't know. Maybe you do some things a little bit differently there. Maybe we try to get some more pass rush and heat him up a little bit. But if Eli Holstein goes, they're going to run a lot of tempo. They're going to spread you out, and they're going to get the ball out quick. That's one thing that they have done a lot this year. A lot of quick passes, get the ball out to their receivers. Kanata Mumpfield, you mentioned, obviously he got hurt as well this past week. So whether or not he's good to go for Saturday will definitely play a huge role as well. But I think the offense it starts with Eli Holstein. They use he's been slinging it all around the field this year, but they also involve him a lot in the run game. And then their running back Desmond Reed, he is kind of a do-it-all guy for them. Leads the team in rushing. He's second on the team in receiving yards. Really, just he is a tough guy to get a hold of. He is like probably every bit 5'8", 175 pounds.
Yeah,
but he can fly. And so they like to get him the ball out in space, and they do a lot of things to get him the football because he is probably their best playmaker just on that offense. So, you might want to, you probably will see a lot more, nickel and dime packages. You want to get guys with speed out there because this Pitt offense is fast and they run and they go fast from a tempo perspective. So, if that offense is healthy, that's what you're going to see a lot. So, it's going to be on this Clemson. It's going to put a lot of stress on the Clemson defensive backs. They're going to have to come in and make tackles because they're going to also, and when they spread you out, they do it to run on you too. Pitt is not a bad rushing offense. That's something that they had struggled with in previous years, but they are much improved from that aspect this year. I think they're running for about 150 something yards per game. So massive improvement from where they were last year. This Pitt offense, when they're clicking, they are really effective and tough to stop. So I from a personnel standpoint, I wonder, what Wes Goodwin has in mind as far as personnel groupings and situationally when they decide to get Sammy on the field, and maybe who do you take out, who do you move around. That remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what kind of scheme this Wes Goodwin coach defense comes out with this week. I'm sure they're going to have a plan, but to your point, this is not a bad rushing team, averaging just a tick over 150 yards per game, 270 plus yards passing per game. So they're definitely a team that can move the ball. They're definitely an offense that can, get the job done. It's going to be interesting to see how much, 47 gets on the field, how much Sammy Brown is going to be able to get on the field with how Pitt plays. And like you mentioned at the top, the biggest question mark for that is going to be the health of their quarterback and the health of their wide receivers, right? How healthy are they coming into this game? Obviously got banged up, but this is still a very good team. They're coming in 7-2, just like the Clemson Tigers, although they dropped their last two games to SMU and Virginia. This is still a very good team, and this is a team that can absolutely beat Clemson, a team that is going to present some challenges, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as we kind of turn the page and talk about how Clemson's offense is going to match up against this Pitt defense. This is a defense that's going to try to heat Cade up, right? They're going to come at him a bunch of different ways. They're going to bring pressure. How does Garrett Riley scheme this up? How do you think this Clemson offense is going to match up with what this Pitt defense likes to do defensively?
Yeah. This Pitt defense is a characteristic of every single Pitt defense you've seen basically under Pat Narduzzi. Tight coverage, physical man coverage on the outside, and they are going to pressure you to death. They are, and you're not going to know where it's coming from. They are very, very aggressive as far as what their approach defensively. So it's going to take a lot of communication. You're gonna have to pick it up. When you play that style of play, of course, that means that the big play can happen from time to time.
Right.
That's something they're willing to live with. They want you to get you behind the chains. They want to get tackles for loss. They want to get sacks. That's why Pitt has been that's Pat Narduzzi's MO. That's his fingerprints all over that defense. I think from a Clemson standpoint, you've seen some teams that have played you aggressive. I do think it's another week where you're going to have to see a big game from your receivers and they're going to have to be able to get off press. They're going to have to be able to get separation because if Pitt can play tight coverage and not have to dedicate too many resources to stopping the run, you might be in for a long day offensively, kind of like you were. It seemed like you were going to be the first half last week. They are physical. They will grab. They are Pitt's corners I think they are a tad bit more physical. They're probably not quite as big everywhere as Virginia Tech's defensive backs were, but they are every bit as physical, if not more. Right. They will put hands on you, and they will knock you off your route. They will work you down the sideline. And they'll grab it and make the officials call it. That is how you play. They are very, very physical. So, it's going to be a big challenge for this for this offense. I think because we have not seen them handle it very well so far this year when teams have kind of manned you up, and not giving you a lot of free releases. So. That's going to be a thing to watch on Saturday. I think you got to get the run game going. So far, this season there hasn't been too many games where the run game was non-existent. So give the ball to Phil Maffa. Kind of soften that defense a little bit. If you can do that, I think that'll open up a lot of things in the passing game. And again, it's kind of a simple formula, but when you play a defense that's as aggressive as Pitt is, you got to do things to make them a little bit more tentative because if you give them confidence, they're going to keep sending them at you. And
right,
sometimes it's kind of hard to, once they get that boulder rolling downhill, it's kind of hard to stop. So
and that truly is the key, is the momentum. Especially, you mentioned how aggressive Pitt's defense is. You got to make them pay for that aggression, right? If you're Cade Klubnik, you got to know your hot routes, right? Wherever they're bringing that blitz from, they're going to disguise it, right? You're not going to know pre-snap who's coming and who's not coming. That's going to be post-snap. Cade Klubnik's going to have to be a very good decision maker in this game, and he's going to have to make Pitt pay for that aggression that they're going to show. It's definitely, obviously, his wide receivers got to help him out, right? Because if they're not open, there's nothing he can do, right? He can't throw into coverage and throw picks and stuff like that. But luckily for us, we got a guy named Phil Maffa. And he's been able to get off pretty much every single game, whatever he wanted to. So that'll go a long way in loosening up this defense and creating some explosive plays in the passing game, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's going to be a big week for the receivers and tight ends. But of course, the offensive line is, they're going to have to hold up, and Cade is going to have to. He's got to correct some of the mistakes he made this past week, and that's something that he talked about during the week. Is he did some things that he hadn't really done all season, just from some immature throws and decision making. So, I think it's going to be a challenge. Like I said, we have not seen this offense respond well to defenses that play this kind of this kind of football. Not consistently, at least. Louisville manned you up and made you work for every single yard.
That's right.
Virginia Tech, that was the MO of Virginia Tech, and they had a lot of success. And so, hopefully the second half last week is something that you can carry over into this week, and you get some things going early, because this I'm not necessarily convinced that this Pitt offense is going to be as anemic as Virginia Tech's was, because they can throw the ball, and they do have better receivers, so that's going to be tough. And I forgot to mention, they have a couple of really good tight ends. Gavin Bartholomew is a guy that I thought it was one of the best tight ends in the ACC heading into the season. He hasn't quite had the year that we all thought he would. I think he just caught his first touchdown, this past weekend. But he's still a weapon for them. A really talented football player. So they will get their tight ends involved in the passing game as well. So that adds another dimension, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and this is you mentioned it, but this is the kind of defense they're going to play, the type of defense that has shown to really slow down and make this Clemson offense look bad. Louisville did it. Virginia Tech did it for a half. So we're going to see if there's been any growth on this offensive side of the ball with the ability to execute when a team is trying to do the things that Pitt's going to do. I think it'll be interesting. A little bit worried about this Pitt defense against this Clemson offense. Not super excited about it. Definitely think that they can give us a lot of problems. Defense is going to have to step up and have a really good game, because I think there's going to be times in this game where offense is going to struggle because of what Pitt does. But hopefully, like you said, that second half of last week shows that they have the ability to push through that adversity and figure some things out when things aren't necessarily going your way on the offensive side of the ball.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, check out the College Football Show with Mark Rogers over on the main channel, The Voice of College Football, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go hang out with Mark, chop it up about college football and everything in between. Tell him that the guys over on the Clemson channel sent you. That would be greatly appreciated. We also have 32 people in the live chat right now. So if you have not, please go ahead and hit that like button for us. That really helps us out on these live videos. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. All right, Jordan. Time for the score prediction. We broke down Pitt, Clemson, talked about the offense, talked about the defense, talked about the various matchups. Now it's time to put our necks out on the line, if you will, give a score prediction, and see where we go. The spread opened up at minus 9.5 for Clemson. It is minus 10 now, so gone up a half a point. The over-under started at 55.5. It is down to 53.5. So thoughts on that, and what is your score prediction for this Saturday against Pittsburgh, 12 noon kickoff? How do you see it going?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this game a lot. Obviously, a lot of this depends on how much we see of Eli Holstein and Kanata Mumfield, because they are two of the best, of course, the quarterback, and then their best and leading receiver. That does play a part. I don't know. I think the defense is going to get stops, but because this Pitt offense has kind of been struggling a little bit, but a lot of that is because their quarterback got hurt last week.
Right.
I am very worried about Clemson offensively in this game. I am not ready to conclude that they are a team that's going to put up a bunch of points against this style of defense. I do think that Pitt's offense is probably the thing that's going to struggle, more. That's kind of the hope, is that they struggle more than your offense does.
Right. Yep.
Just even because if you see Eli Holstein and Kanata Mumfield, are they completely healthy? And I think if you can contain Desmond Reed, I don't think you can take him out of the game, but certainly try to limit his impact on the football game, and make sure that 5-yard gains don't turn into 20 30+ yard gains with him. I think you should be okay. They're going to try to speed you up. So that's another thing, I want to see, because, we've had issues at times this year at getting calls in, defensively, play calls, guys not being set, at the snap, and that can't happen this week, because they will get a cheap explosive play.
You saw Virginia take advantage of that quite a bit in that game against our old boy Tony Elliott. So.
Yep. So you absolutely got to be on your P's and Q's from that standpoint as well. I think Clemson wins this game. I don't like the spread. I think this is going to be a competitive football game. I'm going to go Clemson 27, Pitt 20. A little bit over. What did you say the total was? 53.
It was 53.5.
Okay, 53.5. So a little bit over the total. 27-20. It is, Pitt is a really strangely tough place to play. They are not it's not from an atmosphere standpoint, but it's November. It's up in Pittsburgh, and it's kind of just it's a nooner. It's one of those sleepy environments that sometimes you don't really get fired up. I mean, it's Clemson, so I think the Pitt students and fans will show up, but it's not one of the more daunting atmospheres in college football. They just it's just one of those. It's very easy to kind of sleepwalk into that game, because you're up north, it's colder, and obviously the one time Clemson has been up to Pitt didn't go well a few years ago. So that's going to be something to watch as well. So, but I think Clemson will win this game, but I don't feel great about it, and I don't think they win this comfortably. I think we're going to be sweating it out on Saturday. 27-20 Clemson for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's going to be a bit of a closer game. This is just, unfortunately, this matchup on defense is, giving me pause for concern. Much like you, I think you did a great job of outlining why this Pitt defense can give this Clemson offense so much trouble, and the success that we've seen from other teams that have done similar things to what Pitt is probably going to come out there and try to do against Clemson on Saturday. I do think our defense probably does a pretty good job of bottling them up for the most part. But again, I'm going to go under the 53.5. And I'm going to pick a push on the spread. Clemson minus 10. I see it 27-17 is how I see it shaking out. So under the spread and a push as far as the spread, and then under the over/under for the game. I think Clemson's going to struggle to put up a ton of points, like you mentioned, and I think Pitt will struggle to put up a ton of points as well. So that's how I see it going, 27-17. Hopefully the Tigers make me right and pull this game out. But again, to your point, like, we're going to be in the fourth quarter, and this is still going to be a game. Clemson's not about to roll up to Pitt and blow them out, I don't think. If they do, I will welcome it with open arms.
Yes.
And be super happy about it. I hope the offense comes out there and proves both of us wrong and just rolls up and down the field on Pitt like it's nothing. But
yeah,
not so sure that that's going to be the case.
I mean, as much this team needs a big offensive performance. I don't expect it to happen, but if they do, I do think that it's a data point that makes you feel a little bit better. For the matchup. A little bit better for the matchup you have in a couple of weeks. Slightly better. I don't think this Pitt defense is at the level of South Carolina's, at least especially up front.
Mm-hmm.
But at least showing that you can create explosive plays against a defense that's aggressive and physical up front.
Yeah, you just need to see a big performance out of this offense against a defense that can really match up and give them fits, right?
Yeah.
That's what you really need to see. But that's
neither one of us are expecting it. Yeah,
that's a lot easier said than done. And no, neither of us are truly expecting that. So we'll see. Again, I hope the offense proves us wrong, and we're here eating some crow on Saturday when we're doing our post game live. But I do see this Pitt defense having success. But I still think the Tigers get it done. 27-17 was my score prediction. Yours was 27-20.
Yeah,
within a field goal. Yeah, within a field goal.
We're both under.
Yeah, both under the over/under. You're picking Clemson or you're picking Pitt and the points. I'm picking a push as far as the points go for the spread. So that's our score prediction. You guys get your score predictions in the super chat, in the chat right now, and we'll talk about those in a minute. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. Please, it really helps us out. We are on the road to 6,000 subscribers, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and we're on a good pace to hit that. Hopefully before season's end. We'll see. Hopefully you guys can help us out with that. And hit that like button while you're in here. We got 34 people in the live chat right now. Just a couple more segments, and then we're going to turn it over to you guys. So make sure you guys got your questions ready. Make sure you got your comments ready so we can chop it up with you guys right after our last segment, which will be none other than BYOG or Sell, Jordan. Again, we'll do one apiece, and then we'll turn it over to the comment section because I think they enjoy giving the BYOG ourselves more than we do. So we shall see. But I will go first. I'll let you go, and then we will let the comment section go for the BYOG or sales segment, and then we'll go ahead and transition into just regular questions and comments after that. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right, guys. BYOG or sell. Sammy Brown records 3 tackles for loss.
3. So you had 2.5 this past week.
2.5. So I'm 3 or more.
Yeah, I'm going to sell just because I think the opponent probably, I have a feeling his snap count is going to be, I don't think it's going to be like significantly lower, but I think it's going to be lower. To the point where, I'm not necessarily. And plus, you're not, with how much tempo Pitt runs, you're not going to have as many opportunities to sub the way you want to.
Right.
So I'm selling on that, but I want to see enough.
I agree with you. That in the quick game, to your point, when you were talking about Pitt's offense and their ability to get the ball out quickly, that's going to probably limit some of that pass rush or, some of those tackles for loss that you would otherwise be getting. So I will sell as well, but I would happily be wrong on that if he proves me wrong.
Absolutely. All right. BYOG or sell. Ooh. See, I should have been taking this time to think of one, but I completely blanked. BYOG or sell. Clemson's receivers, well, pass catchers, I should say, record only 2 or less drops.
2 or less drops. I will buy just because I'm hoping that there has been an emphasis by Tyler Grisham and Dabo Swinney and the rest of that offensive coaching staff on this defense, on this wide receiver group about, washing the ball all the way in, not trying to run, ball first type of mentality. I hope that's been stressed this week because if you look at that game last week, truly a couple of those catches that were drops were legitimately touchdowns. If you look at what was behind those wide receivers, if they would have looked that ball in, very well, 2 of those could have been touchdowns. And then the game looks a whole lot different than it did, right? And those would have been explosive plays. So I think that's probably been a point of emphasis this week. So I will buy.
I think I'm with you. I know some people feel like these receivers drop a lot of balls, but last week was really kind of uncharacteristic as far as we haven't really been talking about drops a lot with this group this year. So I tend to think they'll, a little bit of a regression to the mean type of thing, in a positive sense, a positive regression to the mean.
Right.
And they don't, they see the ball all the way in and that's the difference in a couple of drives you had on Saturday. It could have been, I don't want to say field goals, but because we can't trust field goals, but at least scoring opportunities that you lost. So I will buy as well, and let's see what the comment section is on.
Let's see what they got.
Starting with John. He says BYOG or sell. Pitt will stifle the freshman wide receivers, leaving Williams, Brenningstool, and Stellato to be the passing game.
Will stifle the freshman wide receivers.
I think it's because of course that means both TJ and Bryant get stifled. I think TJ's been okay at getting off press. I mean, he's definitely physically farther along than Brian has been. When Brian has gotten manned up, he's been kind of worked. I saw it multiple times on Saturday. He needs to get. I think he needs to get his confidence back because he certainly is. I think they need to do some things differently to get him some free releases because he's not handling it very well.
Right.
I think TJ had opportunities on Saturday. He didn't catch. Of course, and he still had a touchdown, and was your leading receiver. Really off of that one big play, but still, he had a screen pass, probably a little bit behind, but one you still need to bring in.
Yeah,
you got to catch it because he had wide open grass like that. That's got to be a touchdown. He had a couple of other, balls that well timed throws, well placed throws by Cade that TJ just could not bring. He didn't bring in. Wasn't necessarily. Wouldn't say it was dropped because the defender was right there, but it's kind of dropped.
Yeah.
Because it hit him in the hands. You got to bring that in. That's what we brought you in for. Those are the type of throws you have to make, especially if you want to go to the next level. Type of catches you have to make if you want to go to the next level. And TJ knows that, and he put out a tweet, like, I think right after the game. He said like 2 for 6 as far as his targets, like 2 catches out of his 6 targets. He's like, he was mad at himself. So I know, he's very much self-aware.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I'm going to sell. I say all that I'm going to say sell because I don't think both of them will get stifled. But yeah, TJ is going to have, I think he's going to have opportunities in this game. And I think Bryant, if they do some things a little bit differently, give him some opportunities. Once he gets going, there's really nobody that can run with him. So they just need to give him some more opportunities as well, get his confidence back, because he, just since the injury, he hasn't really had the same level of impact that he had at the beginning of the year. That's part of the freshman. Teams got the scouting report on you now. They know what to do. They've seen teams man you up and get hands on you, and that's just like, well, that's what we're going to do. And until he, until he beats us and we have to tip our cap. So, here it is. Tiger fan 24 BYOG or sell. He says Maffa over 125 rushing yards. Ooh. Pitt statistically has been a pretty good run defense, a solid run defense this year. But I do think that some of the rushing offenses they've faced have not been very good. So, some of that might be a deceptive. I don't know how to feel about that. And 125. He's averaging 109. I'm going to buy. I'll listen. Yeah. 125. I'll buy it.
I'm going to buy because I think Clemson does need to focus on establishing that run game this week against Pitt. And you heard Davos this week, right? More Maffa, more better. So he's going to get pretty much all the carries, if not all the carries. And I think it is important for Clemson to run the ball efficiently to have the success in the passing game that you hope that they have as the game goes. The running game is going to be key. So, I'm with you. I'll buy because I think Clemson needs him to do that in this game.
Yeah. And Tiggs had the same one. I'm gonna go back to Dylan's, but Tiggs kind of had a similar one. BYOG or so. Maffa gets 125 yards on the ground and 45 in the air. I'm selling that. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't buy. I'm not buying the 45 in the air.
Yeah,
that's not.
That hasn't been our game this year. That's just not what they've done with him. It'd have to be like a screen that he takes for like 1 billion yards because they blocked it up well, and the Pitt's defense was completely not prepared for it. It'd have to come on one play. I could not see him getting like multiple pass catching opportunities to get to 45 receiving yards. Dylan, BYOG or sell, he says we have a receiver with 100+ yards and a touchdown. Those have been kind of hit or miss this season. You haven't really had. You've had a few 100+ yard games, but they've spread the ball around so much this year. It's just hard for me to. It's hard for me to go there. I'm going to sell. But the opportunities will be there. I think as far as explosive passing plays through the air. We talked about how aggressive this Pitt defense is. Clemson should want to. They're going to have to try to find ways to create those opportunities. And that also means being, very disciplined up front in your pass protection. And Cade has got to be accurate, and he's got to see it. So, I think the opportunities will be there for that to potentially happen. But
I don't know. I just think Clemson so far they've shown us this season that they spread the ball around too much to really comfortably be able to say that you're going to buy that. I think. I don't know.
And man, we've had two different.
Yeah.
Jay says BYOG or sell. We get a 100-yard receiver in the game. So yeah, we're both.
Yeah.
He just took out the touchdown, but still, that one's tough. Isaac with a good idea. I was thinking about this. Right before the segment, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
We need to revisit ours when we do it.
We do. I wrote them down, so we'll revisit those next week.
Cool. All right.
So you had 2 or less drops, and I had 3 or more tackles for loss for Sammy Brown. So we'll see how we did.
Yep. Yes, we will. Let's do a few more. I lost it. Wet Sox, BYG or sell at least one Randall touchdown. Adam Randall's snaps have been they're working him back, but
they've been pretty low. I'm selling. I don't see it.
Selling.
I'd love for him to score, a touchdown in this game, but I don't see it.
Me neither.
It's been way low lately.
Isaac says BYG or sell. Pitt runs that shovel pass play to their tight end fullback. I've watched a lot of Pitt this year. I've not seen them do that. Thankfully,
they're bringing it back for the Clemson game. Watch.
Teams have. One thing I have learned from watching just a lot of Clemson and watching their opponents, they do have special. They always have special stuff.
Yeah.
They have special Clemson game plans.
Don't worry, it's coming back. It's coming back.
That's the power of the brand, baby. That's the reality.
They're gonna bring it back. They're gonna bring it back for the Paul for sure. They're gonna do it. I'm buying. They're gonna do it.
I'm a sell, but it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me if they threw that kind of wrinkle in.
I swear to God, if they run it, it better not be successful. I'll be so mad.
Well, you don't have Brent Venables on that sideline. He's
so mad. He could not stop that, bro.
Yeah. I think ever since that game, I think he always every week he had a shovel pass. They ran it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure they had it. They could stop it.
It was a nightmare watching that game.
He basically vowed to never let shovel passes beat him.
He was like, no one will ever gain another yard on me with a shovel pass.
So crazy, man. Tiger fan 24, BYOG or sell 2 or more takeaways. I mean, this Pitt offense has been a little bit. I don't know. 2 or more.
What's Pitt turnovers look like?
I had the numbers in front of me, but I don't. Yeah, I lost them.
They're +5 in the turnover ratio.
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing like a outlandish number of turnovers. Eli Holsting has been pretty good with the football.
Yeah, he's only got 6 interceptions on the season. Let's see, fumbles. They fumbled 13 times and only lost 2.
That's actually quite a bit.
That is a lot of fumbles, but they don't lose a lot of them.
Yeah, they've been pretty fortunate then. And I think probably I don't know how many of them were charged to Eli. I know he's taken 19 sacks this year.
Yeah.
So that's something to watch. If he plays, but he's taken 19 sacks this year. So probably some of them are from that, and he runs the football a lot. So I wonder how many have been charged to him.
That's a good one. Probably quite a few.
Yeah. Mappa, BYOG yourself, 5 yards per carry. I think that's a pretty. He's been over 5 basically every. I think he was like.
He's 6.1 on the season, so
yeah,
he probably at least hits that 5 mark in this.
I think he was 4.9 last week, so I mean, but whatever.
He's good for 5 yards a pop.
Yeah. All right, let's do one more, and then let's hit the comment section. Porsche Pal, BYOG or Selkate is sacked 4 or less times. You got sacked 4 times last week.
And Pitt brings significantly more pressure than Virginia Tech brings.
Yeah. I mean, on the year, you've been pretty good at not giving up sacks. I mean, I think last week was an uncharacteristically bad game from Cade as far as holding on to the football at times.
I mean, he's only got 11 sacks on the season.
Yeah. And that's with giving up 4 last week, 4 last week. So 4, giving up, I think that's I'll buy that.
I'll buy that. Yeah.
I think Pitt's going to get pressures. They will get pressures, but I'm not necessarily. Teams have not gotten home on Clemson.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Clemson obviously knows that they want to bring a lot of pressure, that they're going to blitz. They're going to disguise their blitzes, right? So I think they're, I would assume they're going to come out there with a plan for hot routes and to get rid of the ball quickly, to kind of get rid of some of that Pitt rush that speed up that they're going to try to do to Cade. So
yeah,
I would assume Clemson's going to come in with a good plan for that. And overall, our offensive line has held up pretty well this year. Louisville game, not so much, but for the most part, they've done pretty well. So
yep. All right, I think that's going to do it. Let's see what y'all are talking about. Otherwise,
do it. Back to the regular comments. My bad. I'm sorry.
We were both on. We were both on the same thing. All right. Let's see where to start.
While you're finding one of those, let's see how the people are doing with the likes in here.
Yeah, make sure y'all are running that like button up. I have not looked at what we're sitting at, but
we got 14 likes, 15 likes, and 30 people in the comment section right now. So
all right, so some of you have definitely not like
are not doing your job.
Yep.
Hit that like button for us. Appreciate you guys. This is All In Show number 95, Jordan.
Hard to believe, man. We're approaching 100 fast.
5. It's crazy. I don't know what our 100th episode is going to look like. I don't know when that's going to be. It's going to be after the season, it looks like. But we'll see. I don't know.
Truitt says all Clemson needs to do is the same thing Virginia did, just play a lot better on offense, and the defense needs to show up again just like last week. Well, I mean, you can't rely on quarterback going down. Virginia did get the end of that game was strange. Virginia got like a redo on a 4th down call.
They did. Yeah.
They stopped. It was really strange. Like the official was not ready for the ball to be snapped, but Virginia snapped the ball, and they got stuffed. But because the official tried to was not ready for play, they got a read. It was really weird. I don't really know how you can do that. So Virginia was kind of fortunate in some respects to win that game, but Pitt did have some. Pitt struggled a little bit too, and they also their quarterback went down. So. And their best receiver. So you can't rely on that, but you do got to get stops. And offensively, I mean, you have to have a better start than you did last week. That's for sure. Wet Sox says, I'm going to keep banging the drum for Adam as long as teams keep playing man against us. I mean,
yeah,
it just how effective is Adam right now? He hasn't, he's come back faster than he was expected to. But so how even though like he can play, is he truly like at 100%? I don't know. Maybe we'll see him more on Saturday, but I don't know. It just, I think the guys that you have out there are getting open, like and winning their fair share of battles, but they're last week they weren't catching it, and you had some missed opportunities, some good play calls that you didn't, and then Cade created some opportunities that they didn't capitalize on. It was not a good performance in that first half.
Yeah,
but we'll see. Maybe we do see Adam more. Horsepower says, ultimately, I think what Clemson needs to do is end the game with more points than Pitt. Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Hey, look, man, that's some insight right there. That's pretty good.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. So
yeah, you should email Dabo with that. Yeah. I like it.
DG YouTube says, keep winning, Tigers. That last one is coming. Yeah, it is. It is, and we'll have a lot to say about that game when it comes around.
Man,
that'll be fun.
We'll get there when we get there.
5 Adam says, why did Clemson stop recruiting elite quarterbacks? Well, they haven't. I mean, if you look at the roster, but I mean, Cade Klubnik was he said, well, he says last week QBs Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. Well, I mean, DJ Uiagalelei was a 5-star coming out of high school. He obviously didn't pan out, but
he was the second ranked quarterback in the nation. He just it didn't translate to college. Cade Klubnik was a 5-star as well. I don't think we stopped recruiting elite quarterbacks. It's just, it is much harder in today's landscape to land. I don't know that.
And Chris Vezina was a top 100 quarterback too. So it's I
don't know that Clemson will land a Trevor Lawrence anymore.
Right. That's an impossible standard.
With the amount of money that teams are willing to pay, especially for, your top 5 quarterbacks in the class. I'm not saying Clemson can't get any of them, but it would have to be probably a more unique scenario. Because they're not gonna be able to pay, I don't think, what some of these other schools are willing to pay that high school quarterback to commit. So
I mean, I've heard rumors about what Juju Lewis, the 5-star quarterback that was committed to USC. I've heard rumors about what he's demanded, and that's just some of these recruitments with how Clemson has gone about things. Like they're not going to do it. So until Clemson decides they want to get into the bidding wars, I mean, they're not going to,
you're not landing those top
barring special circumstances. You're probably not going to be landing those elite of the elite, like the Juju Lewis's, the Bryce Underwoods. Those are not. You're probably not getting those. So
your top 5, top 10 quarterbacks, you're probably not getting those anymore.
Yeah,
unless you're willing to pay a whole lot of money for them. But
we'll see. We'll see with how revenue sharing comes in, and
I mean that's the next big change coming in college football, right? Is the rev sharing, the $20 million? How is that gonna impact? What does NIL look like in a world of revenue sharing? Is it the same? Does it change at all? I think those are all questions that are kind of impossible to answer at this point. You can speculate on it, but at the end of the day, we don't know what that's going to look like. I still think NIL personally will be a big part of college football. I don't think it's ever going anywhere. I would like to see maybe a bit more regulation on it, especially with the adding of revenue sharing, but again, we'll see how all that stuff shakes out. But in the current model, yeah, you're right. Like top 5, those top 5 QBs in the class every year, you're probably not getting those guys anymore.
Yeah.
Unless one just really likes Clemson. But chances of that are slim when they're looking at some of these NIL deals.
Yeah. I mean,
people out here driving Lambos and stuff. I mean,
yeah. I mean, hell, like you had Blake Hebert committed in this class, and
yeah,
he
for
was
a long time.
He was far from a top 5 quarterback in the class, and
somebody still swooped in and paid him more money.
Yeah. So
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. That's kind of the reality of recruiting, and for Clemson, they have to find guys. I mean, if they're not going to engage in the bidding wars and all that, they got to find guys that fit. And some of them are going to be developmental. Some guys might surprise you, but you've seen with the guys they've taken in the 2026 cycle. They're just that's how they've gone about doing things. I'm sorry, 2020. What year is it? Good Lord. Yeah, 2026. And they're still working on potentially landing a quarterback in the 2025 class. As David Lowry asks about, great show, guys. Really enjoy it. The effort you put into any recruiting updates, especially quarterback. Yeah. As far as quarterback's concerned, that's still taking shape. Clemson is, they have, I know they have guys in mind, but they are one of those programs that they like to work in silence especially when it comes to quarterback, because, you don't want, things to get, it to get out that you're going after a guy. And, with how Clemson recruits, especially, they want you, like, they have to make sure that you're actually going to go through with it, and are serious about Clemson before they, pull the trigger and make a public offer. And of course, that means you got to decommit, you got to do all these things.
Yeah, people were publicly decommit.
Yeah. I know people were talking about Carter Smith, the 4-star that decommitted from Michigan. He's looking like he's trending to Florida State. So we'll see kind of who it is that Clemson ultimately decides to pivot to, because that still kind of remains to be seen. All right. Isaac says, recruits got to choose you. It isn't from lack of trying. And Cade and DJ both were top quarterback recruits, just haven't quite panned out. Think Cade will eventually develop into elite one, though. Yeah, I mean, and we've seen the growth we've seen from Cade after 1 year of starting is promising. If you get him back next year, I mean, maybe he doesn't make that same leap, but
yeah, you got to assume he's going to get better this offseason. To your point, not as big of a jump, obviously, because he's just better as a quarterback at this point. But yeah, he's going to get better from year 2 to year 3. I have full confidence. Cade's one of those guys. I watched an interview with him on Gramlich and Matt Lane, their podcast. He interviewed with them this week, and he's just a self-aware guy. Like he knows his weaknesses. He's not afraid to say them. And when you're that self-aware and you're willing to work at them, you're going to become a better player. Yeah. And I'm sure once this season comes to an end, regardless of what happens the rest of the way, I truly believe that Cade's that type of guy that's going to reevaluate what he did this season, find areas of his game that need improvement, and work on those things in the offseason. And I fully expect that we'll have him back next year. So I do think Cade's going to, develop into, a really, really good quarterback for us. Is he going to be Deshaun Watson? No. Is he going to be Trevor Lawrence? No. But how many quarterbacks are you going to get that are going to be that caliber, regardless of their rating coming out of high school?
Yeah, and that can't be the standard. I mean,
no, we were very, very fortunate to get essentially Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence back to back with a gap year, if you will, of Kelly Bryant. No disrespect to Kelly Bryant. He was a really good quarterback.
Yeah. Love KD.
Yeah, love that dude. Did a lot for Clemson. Won some games that we wouldn't have won without him. So, but comparatively to those, like if you're comparing every quarterback we have to Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, you're just going to be in a constant state of disappointment because those two dudes were just absolutely elite. So to think another one of those is walking through the door, I think is setting yourself up for failure.
All right. Dylan says it seemed like Dabo hinted at possibly adding another recruit because he mentioned he can't say anything about the current class yet. Yeah, I mean, they are still working. They're still working to add guys. They have been. It's been quiet, but not because they're not doing anything. So I will leave it at that. Horsepower says, yeah, you can also win without a great quarterback. Just do what Georgia did 2 to 3 years ago. Have an amazing defense, have an amazing offensive line, and run the ball. Well, I will say Stetson Bennett, especially in his last year, I do think he was a very good quarterback. I think, but I get what you're saying. I don't think you need like generational, that word gets thrown around so much. But
it's one of the most overused words in college football.
Yeah, but yeah, you certainly don't need Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson level play at quarterback to win a title. It helps a lot, but you don't necessarily need it. And if you are, I mean, with how Clemson has been definitely taking the steps to building, up the other aspects of the offense, particularly the offensive line, that means a lot. As far as, it makes things easier for whatever quarterback you put back there. And, you're seeing it with I don't think there's a really elite quarterback in college football this year. I think Dylan Gabriel is good. Don't think he's elite. Will Howard, he's been solid, but he's certainly not elite. You go down the list, like there haven't been a ton of just elite quarterback. Jalen Milroe, he's had his ups and downs this year. Cam Ward has been really, really good, but I don't think those are all very good quarterbacks. They're not all of them are reminiscent of some of the elite quarterbacks you've had in recent years. So you don't need that level of kid, but it definitely helps. Yeah, Tiger Fan 24 says Matt Luke is the guy to build an amazing offensive line. Yeah, I mean, and you've seen what he's done with this group already. You have to feel excited, and you really only lose one guy. It seems like it's really off of this group, barring transfers and all that, and Marcus Tate. So you get the core of this group back next year. It's seeming like. So you got to feel excited about this line, and then the guys behind him are only going to get better. The Elijah Thurmans, Harris Sewell will be stepping into a starting role more than likely, and Colin Sadler, of course, you get him back from injury. Some of the younger guys, continuing to develop. There's something to be excited about for next year as far as that group is concerned.
Absolutely.
Say it. Let's see. Yeah. Dylan says even kids that really like Clemson chose Tennessee. Look at David Sanders. Yeah. I mean, that's one I can very confidently say that if you were more competitive NIL wise, he would have been in your class. Just that's the reality. But you weren't interested in that kind of recruitment. And it didn't start out that way, but it became that, and that's why you went from being the presumed leader to not even in his final 3-4 schools. So until Clemson decides that's what they want to do, you're going to lose recruitments like that. That's the reality. Yeah, John says, yeah, some high school kids are going to have Lambos now. Yeah, I mean, especially with more and more states passing laws as far as I know is concerned. Yeah, hey, man,
that's crazy.
That's the game now. Yeah, Tiger fan. Yeah, he says, hate to say, but Sanders was a fake show. He was more about the money than he let on. I will say this. No, I won't say that. But you're right. Nebraska jumped it. Yeah, Nebraska is certainly throwing it around as well, and they certainly presented a very competitive offer, and that got them in the door. So with these elite recruits, a lot of them, there's a base level number that you got to meet. Clemson, and not all of them.
And I mean,
made them there.
As much as a lot of us don't like it, I mean, can you really blame them?
Yeah, I don't blame the kids. I mean, I don't blame the kids at all. I don't. Yeah.
Look, if they're comparable places and you feel like you're going to be developed at both places and have a good opportunity, and one's paying you significantly more than the other, I mean, you'd be crazy not to take the more money.
Yeah, Jay says, I think you can't have contracts until you make players employees, which most don't want. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I mean, I think we're trending that way, but yeah, you can't do.
The contract thing will certainly be interesting, but kind of a catalyst for that is going to be that revenue sharing. There's going to be some sort of development with that revenue sharing.
Yeah.
Because essentially then you are an employee. So I think the revenue sharing is going to be a big catalyst for a lot of change with how this stuff is structured and what it looks like going forward. I don't know what it eventually turns to. Like, does it eventually turn into some sort of salary cap situation? Like, I don't know ultimately what it ends up being. Sounds like with the House settlement that it's somewhere around $20 million right now, but that's divided up over all sports. So, you got Title IX in that. There's a whole, there's a whole slew of complications with that kind of stuff. And how's the money going to be divvied up? And, state by state, I'm sure is going to affect how those decisions are made. And then obviously, institution by institution as well. So I don't know, man. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, there are a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
Before all of this gets sorted out.
Because you can't just give it all to football. That's not going to be allowed.
Oh, I like this one from Isaac. He says, where would y'all rank all starting quarterbacks under Dabo, from Kyle Parker up to Cade Klubnik? Oh, that is a good one.
Man. That's a great question. Like, ranked in order?
Yeah, I guess best. You just start best to worst. Oh man. Well, the start is kind of complicated. I'm going to cheat. 1A, 1B, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you could honestly flip flop them. I know some people have Deshaun as a number one, and I'm perfectly fine with that too. It doesn't really matter to me. They're both elite. Two of the best, best football players, the best athletes in school history.
I think Deshaun Watson's one for me, just because his whole career, like what he did, some of the heroic moments that he had in games, and I don't know, just because he was the first one to bring it home in 30 whatever years it was, so I think that one will always be like the biggest one to me, the 2016 national championship, just because of how it ended the previous season and all that kind of stuff. So But like talent-wise, it'd probably be the other way around, just like raw talent as a quarterback. But if I'm ranking it from my fan perspective, Clemson, I go Deshaun and then Trevor. Very close second.
Third, I think is very clear as well. Taj Boyd.
I
think he's
no doubt
school leader in passing yards, passing touchdowns, laid the groundwork for what eventually became the run you went on. Can't really do much more than that. Number 4 is interesting. I'm stuck between Kelly Bryant and Kyle Parker, but Kyle Parker started more. He started 2 seasons. I'm going to go Kelly Bryant and then Kyle Parker.
I would do the same.
Because Kelly Bryant's single season, I mean, he set records as far like most ranked. He still holds the record for most ranked wins in a regular season in Clemson history. That was one of the best regular seasons in school history. If you didn't lose to Syracuse like that, I mean, that's the only thing. And he was hurt in that game. Kelly Bryant and then Kelly Bryant, then Kyle Parker. Porsche Powell asking about Cade. I think Cade is clear. His career isn't over, so it feels wrong to rank him above guys that who have have finished their careers completely and have left their mark on Clemson. I mean, Kyle Parker was an extremely important part of Clemson in the early Dabo history. So I can't put him ahead of I can't put Cade ahead of either one of them right now. So Kelly. So I'm going. What do I have? Deshaun Watson, Trevor
Lawrence, Kelly Bryant,
Taj Boyd.
Kelly Bryant, then Kyle Parker.
Then 6, I think, is Cade. I'm going to go Cade.
Yeah.
7, DJ Uiagalelei. Then 8, Cole Stout. Good old Cole Stout. But to Cole's credit, man, I mean he went out a hero. He went out a winner.
He did. His best game was his last. So yeah, I think that list makes a lot of sense. I don't think I have any disagreements on that.
Yeah.
The top 5 is pretty easy.
Yeah.
I think.
I like that question. That was fun.
You get after that, and you could switch a couple of those guys around. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal outside of the the top 5 guys. But I think
and Cade has a lot of room to move up. Like we could be.
Yeah, no, he does. Like his career's not ended, right? Like he's got the rest of this season. He's got next year and another year if he wants it, or is next year is the last year of eligibility? I don't know. Who knows college football now? You get 27 years of eligibility now.
Yeah, he didn't. When did the rule about postseason? When did that come to? I think his last year of eligibility is next year.
Next year, okay, that makes sense.
So. But I don't know. That might be wrong. Because I don't know, it's weird. But it very much depends on whether or not 22 counted against him. But
Dylan said Cole Stout or Chase Bryce.
Oh, Chase Bryce easily for me.
Chase Bryce
easily for me.
Chase Bryce, the hero, the backup hero of Clemson football.
Yeah. It's Chase for me. But Cole, there were a lot of things like. He got a bad rap in a lot of instances. In that 2014 season, he had some rough performances, but I think he got he got more blame than he should in some cases.
Yeah,
I know when he was there, I remember listening to his dad. I think he was on the Roar 105.5, and I think he's been on there a couple of times, and he's talked about kind of the some of the criticism that Cole got that was, it was really, some of it was just not even criticism. It was just flat out like hate and nastiness. So, Cole is very, very much, he was there a long time. He was a leader. He had the respect of his teammates. So, I can't knock him too much. But, he just wasn't able to, lift Clemson up the way that Deshaun was. And I think that's, part of why he gets a lot of flack in history, but good dude. And,
people were just
I'll never forget that Russell Athletic Bowl. That was a lot of fun.
That was epic, man. That was epic. So happy for him. What a way to cap off a career.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after Deshaun Watson had played the game before, the South Carolina game, won that one. Obviously shuts it down to have surgery on his torn ACL, and then
Cole goes out there and lights up Oklahoma.
He went out with a bang, man. He just tore it up.
Yeah.
A very fitting way for his career to end in Clemson.
Yeah. Isaac said, Kelly over K. Yeah, Kelly Bryant had the best. He had the best regular season in school history. Led,
sure.
Not statistically, but as far as wins, he beat a ranked Auburn, beat a ranked South Carolina, he beat a ranked NC State.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Was Miami ranked that year? No, we didn't. Yeah, Miami was top 10 that year. Miami, Louisville was ranked that year. They blew out Louisville. Lamar Jackson, people forget about that game. That was the game that Travis Etienne kind of broke out onto the scene.
Yep.
That was a fun regular season, man. That Syracuse loss was just the only black eye, well, at least on that regular season.
Yeah.
And he had a concussion and clearly shouldn't have been out there. And he got hurt, and you had to play Hunter Johnson and the kid that went to Jacksonville State. Zarek Cooper.
Zarek Cooper. There you go. Dang.
Could not think of his name.
I forgot about him.
He ended up being he was a good player. He was the one that went into Tallahassee and beat Florida State.
Yeah, he's been good.
A few years later. That was fun.
Yeah, Kelly Bryant had a great season, which that's part of what was so bittersweet about, kind of transitioning to Trevor. You knew it was the right thing to do for the team, but it still felt, bad.
Yeah.
For Kelly Bryant because of everything that he had done, sitting behind Deshaun and then getting his opportunity and leading you to the playoffs and getting steamrolled by Alabama, unfortunately. But then, coming back that next year and, freshman phenom Trevor Lawrence walks into town, and it's just pretty evident that he's just a better quarterback.
Yeah.
Kelly Bryant, unfortunately, he didn't do anything to lose his job. He just got out recruited. That was just, but there were never any hard feelings on Clemson's side of it.
Oh no,
I think, and
I
don't know how he feels, but I don't think.
He's still and I follow him. I follow him on basically everything. But he's streaming now. He's still very. He's still. He comes back to Clemson. He still has great relationships there. He's still cool. Him and Dabo have a great relationship. Yeah. So Kelly is a Tiger for life for me. I think most everybody agrees with that. He was my quarterback my freshman year. So that. He will always have a sentimental, spot, as far as Clemson quarterbacks that I've gotten to see. Yeah, he'll always be one of my personal favorites, and it just gave me a lot of memories as a student. So that was fun.
Yeah, he was a great Clemson quarterback.
Yeah,
just a good guy.
All right. We spent a lot of time on that one, but that was a fun little trip down memory lane.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Dylan mentions Tavian Feaster. Yeah.
Oh.
I used to call him he who shall not be named, but
that is not a Tiger for life right there.
I've gotten over that a little bit, I
know the once a Tiger, always a Tiger, but he's the exception.
Yeah, just and it's because you get the blessing from CJ Spiller.
Yeah, you can't come to Clemson as the next great running back, bring a Legends number out of retirement with his blessing, and then go play for South Carolina. You're dead to me, dude. There's no coming back from that. No.
I can't forgive
the fact that he wore CJ Spiller's number, just disgusting.
Yeah.
Never deserved to wear that uniform.
Isaac says, I saw Feaster play live his senior year in high school. He's the best high school player I've ever seen in person. Thought he was going to be a stud. Yeah, I mean, he was one coming in. He's like him.
Like everybody thought that he was going to be that dude.
Him and Mike Bellamy, I think those were two of the most sure thing running backs I think Clemson had ever had. I thought, and neither one of them panned out. That was fun. That was interesting. I mean, Mike Bellamy is a name
don't nobody even know who that is.
Yeah. I'm not old enough to be like to do the whole Unc thing, but
yeah.
I don't know. We might have some younger viewers that don't remember Mike Bellamy, but
right.
I do.
Yeah, for sure.
Tiger fan says, I seen him play live too and thought he was better than Marcus Lattimore in high school. But yeah, Marcus Lattimore, I mean, he certainly lived up to the hype, and of course,
he definitely did.
The injury, man. Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunate how his career ended.
Yeah. Kelly Isaac says Kelly got a lot of hate at times, but his career was extremely underrated. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he definitely had one of those careers. I think it just people needed some separation to truly appreciate, and especially when you consider who he was following,
right?
And now in retrospect, who he was sandwiched in between,
it was super unfair. It's like the timing of it. You take over for, who's widely considered the greatest Clemson quarterback of all time, Deshaun Watson. And then, here comes number 2 right behind you to take your job in year 2 as a starter, Trevor Lawrence. So, but yeah, I think the time, the separation has definitely allowed Clemson fans to kind of look back on the Kelly Bryant era a lot more favorably, with some perspective on, just how well he did with impossible circumstances, because he was never going to be Deshaun Watson, and he was never going to hold off Trevor Lawrence for any length of time. So,
yeah. Jay says, I think KB coaches at Woodland High School now. Yeah, he does. I know he was also doing real estate for a little bit. But now he's coaches, and he's also, like I say, he also streams. He's really funny. Like he plays COD, college football, 25, Madden. Like he'll. I saw him playing a horror game like last week. I was like, what in the world? But no, he's very entertaining, man. He's a lot of fun. Dylan says Andre Ellington was big when I was growing up. Ooh, that's a
blast from the past right there.
That makes me. Well, I actually don't know how old you are, Dylan. You might be older than me, so I don't know. See, I was what, 12, 13 when Andre was starting. So I guess technically when I was growing up too, but it's kind of depends on your definition of by then I was getting ready to head into high school, but Yeah. Andre, yeah, that's certainly one of the more unheralded players in the Dabo Swinney tenure. Honestly, we don't really talk about him as much because C.J. Spiller, Travis Etienne, but man, he was special, and he had a really good career in the NFL. So, yeah, Andre, well, yeah, he's definitely one of the more just, especially in recent, he's become really underrated. He wasn't he was a pretty big deal when he was here, but just since he left and some of the backs he's had since then, he's kind of been, he's kind of fallen by the wayside over time. But I don't let people forget Andre Ellington, man. He was a massive part of those Taj Boyd. And just considering the offense he was on, Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins, Martavis Bryant, Adam Humphries.
It was hard to shine and with
Allen.
Man, look, you go back and look at that roster, dude. I cannot believe that collection of players were all on the same team.
Yeah, hard to believe.
That's insane. That was an insane roster.
It was. It was. They were so much fun in NCAA football.
Yeah.
That was Clemson's was so fun to play with.
It was just unstoppable, man. That offense was crazy.
Let's see. What Sock says, I'm 19. Who is Mike Bellamy, man? Oh God. I don't know. He might be pulling our chain, but still, that makes me feel old. Els King says, was it Chad Morris who went to A&M? No, he went to Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah.
Unless you're, if you mean Chad Morris, yeah, he went to Arkansas. That was that did not go very well.
Did not go well for him at all.
Well, actually, he went to SMU first and then went to to Arkansas, but still, you know what I mean. His Arkansas tenure was good.
That was bad,
man. That is one of the worst coaching tenures, really, of the modern era. They were horrendous.
It was so bad.
Yeah, great coordinator for us, and did a lot of good. But
I mean,
as a head coach,
completely revamped the Clemson offense and changed it in every way. But yeah, head coach, not so much. No, he's not.
People talking about Ellington.
But I mean, honestly, that's a lot of coordinators, right? That are great coordinators. They go out to be head coaches, and it don't pan out.
He says no. Oh, you're talking about Chad Kelly.
Oh,
he's asking about Chad Kelly. Okay,
man,
Chad Kelly went to Ole Miss. Yes. Well, after he went to Last Chance U.
Yeah, after he went to JUCO.
Yeah. Got
kicked off of Clemson, went to JUCO, and then went to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That dude was a mess, dude.
Yeah, not as much as good of a quarterback as he was at Ole Miss. I'm not upset. He was not a very
no.
In the politest terms I can put it, he was a douchebag. I'm gonna be honest. So
I think everybody knows that about Chad Kelly.
Yeah,
not a nice person, not a good person.
I remember when he smacked the ball out of Dave Seville's hand at the spring game. That was on live television. That was time to go. That was time to go right there. Like you got to get up out of here, bro. you can't be here. Yeah. And then when he got to Ole Miss, he took a shot at. I remember he took a shot at Clemson when they were about to play LSU. He said the real Death Valley and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So don't care for Chad Kelly. Not upset that we missed out on that one, and I don't think Dabo was upset either.
No, I think Dabo was of the opinion we can't get this dude out of here fast enough.
Yeah. One of the more
just not. Some people's talent isn't worth the trouble that they are. He's one of those people. He is a talented quarterback, no doubt about it. But
perfect Hugh Freeze quarterback. So
yeah, his off the field stuff far outweighs what he can do on the field.
Yeah, he was a good fit for Hugh Freeze. Tig says the best Clemson player ever was William the Refrigerator Perry. I mean, he's up there. Yeah, absolutely. Is he still alive? I think he is, but I know he wasn't doing so well. I'm about to look this up. Yeah, he's still alive. I know he wasn't doing so hot as of late, but
yeah, he is.
But I haven't kept up. He might have gotten better. I don't remember, but I know he had gotten up there and weight and was kind of struggling for a little bit. But yeah, one of the most iconic players in school history, and obviously had a great NFL career.
Yeah, an amazing NFL career. Yeah.
Yeah. So, or the Bears, I mean. So yeah. Hey, he's definitely he's definitely up there. Wet Sox says we got Unk and Unk going player for player right now. I'm not Unk, man. I don't qualify for that label yet.
No.
I don't think.
I'm not that old yet. I'll get there, but
Tiger Fan 24, he says he was worse than Steven Garcia.
Dang.
That might be debatable. I've heard some stories about Steven Garcia, man.
Oh man, Steven Garcia.
Some things I can't say. Some things you might get us demonetized. So I don't know. That might be debatable.
Yeah, that dude was a character for sure. Just put it that way.
Yeah. Porsche Pal asked me, why did Dabo recruit him? I know Dabo was ashamed for signing it. Like that was one of the worst character misses from Dabo, like throughout his tenure. Like he's definitely up. Chad Kelly is definitely up there.
You would have.
I don't know.
He would have got weeded out in the the process that Clemson goes through, but
yeah, I don't know. That one was just a miss.
Like he's the type of guy that like there's no way there wasn't any red flags there. Like there's zero chance.
I wonder what the behind the scenes was there.
Like I bet that dude was a menace in high school. I bet you didn't go to no classes.
Yeah, I doubt it. I know he didn't go at Ole Miss. I know that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like my says, kind of reminds me of Darian Kendrick. I wouldn't go that far. DK was not. He was not necessarily like he was a good person. Yeah. I think he had some issues. I think off the field that were more just from a maturity standpoint.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like him doing like just bad things, like being a bad person. It was just doing college kid stuff. And, he also had a kid that definitely affected some of his decision making. And part of the reason why he trained, well, part of the disconnect while he was here was, not communicating with coaches all the time. About where he was, what he was supposed to be doing, being, showing up to, to required meetings, stuff like there were a lot of things that went on, but it wasn't necessarily because he was a bad, he was a bad like person, like doing bad things, like So I wouldn't go that far. Let's see. Tig says, who's worse, Garcia or DJ, as a player or as a person? I mean, as a person, Garcia by far. DJ is
a great person.
He's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, I don't know. It's honestly, it's kind of debatable. Steven, he gets, he wasn't really that good, but he had good moments. He had some high, like his highs were higher than DJ's highs, I think, in terms of like performance. That's like Steven beating Alabama in 2010. That was like DJ never had a win like that. But
yeah, overall, he's probably a better college quarterback than DJ.
Maybe so, yeah.
Character-wise, it's not even close.
Yeah, no. Isaac Smith says, rank Kelly, Garcia, and Manziel when it comes to character issues. I'm going to go Manziel, Garcia, Kelly.
Yeah, that's what I would go. Yeah. Manziel takes the cake, man.
I think Manziel takes the cake. He was insane. The whole story was wild.
Yeah, man.
All right. I think we got to the end of the conversation. Well, Tiger fan asked about DJU throwing shots at Clemson at Oregon State. I don't think that's how he intended it.
There were definitely some subtle shots there.
Yeah, but like I don't think it was like I don't think it was spite. It didn't seem spiteful. It was more like frustration. Like he felt like he was voicing his frustration with how things went. But he still like has a lot of relationships at Clemson, and Dabo still loves him, and they still have a good relationship. I mean, you saw after the Florida State game and seeing all the guys coming up and talking and hanging out with DJ, and they were chopping it up on the field. Like there's still like definitely still a lot of love, I think, from that standpoint. So yeah, I think it was kind of jarring for some of the things he said, but at the end of the day, that's his experience. Kind of in the same way that Andrew Makuba talked about his experience at Clemson. You can't make everybody happy. When players transfer, it's because things went the way didn't go away they hoped they would. So I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with everything DJ said for sure, but again, that's his experience, and I can't speak to that. So
yeah, I mean, he said what he said.
Yeah,
I don't think he dogged Clemson, but there were certainly some shots there. But and some of it was probably true.
Yeah. Alexander asks, was Jameis Winston really a bad person or jerk at Florida State? Well, I've heard different things. He did have he did have a couple of run-ins with the law that are slightly concerning, and he had an allegation while he was there that of a not very good variety.
Yeah.
So he was never charged for it. I don't think you can say. Today, he certainly presents himself. He's a very funny, like interesting.
He's funny, man. Like he's in the. I don't know. At least in his NFL career, like I think he's a likable dude in the NFL.
Yeah.
Florida State. I don't know. I think a lot of it was probably just being a really immature college kid that thought you could, get away with pretty much anything is, kind of how he came off to me at Florida State. Everybody points to the run-ins that he had, which there were some legitimate stuff that, he did wrong.
Yeah.
But,
everybody
laughs about the crab leg thing.
I think like when he got suspended for saying
standing up on the picnic table or whatever it was in the middle of a crowd of people. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was definitely immature.
To me, that's not like a bad person. That's just like you're a really immature person, and you think because of your status as a football player, you can get away with whatever. That's what that kind of stuff was like. I don't really think that made him a bad
That's
person.
not as uncommon as some of the other things that other instances that from other players that were like of the very serious nature. So okay. Yeah, we are not doing that, Tony. All right. I think that's going to do it for us. I don't. You have any parting shots? I think we're hitting the 2:20 mark.
No, I think we're good. Yeah. Porsche says, and the bots have arrived. Yes, they have. That's our cue to get out of here. We're sitting at 2 hours and 18 minutes. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this entire time. Still got 27 people in the live chat. Appreciate each and every one of you. We will be back Saturday afternoon to break down everything we see in the Clemson versus Pitt matchup. Again, that's kicking off at 12 noon. So again, we'll be on 15 or so minutes after the clocks hit 0 right here on Clemson at the Voice of College Football to give you all of our unfiltered live reaction to whatever we saw in the game. So hope you guys will stop back by and come check out the post-game live video. But until then, I'm Tiger Paul Craven. He's Jordan Bowman. Go Tigers.
Later, y'all.